Hello, my name is Stefan Borca, and today I'm going to talk about a solution, how to ease the job of a citizen developer. Why? Because the power of a citizen development methodology resides in the increased number of participants. By doing everything much easier for the business people, they will be encouraged to try more and more, and the result will be a nice scaled program. First, we'll try to understand why reusable components are a solution for this program. Then we'll take a look at the pilot we've implemented in UiPath and do a short demo. At the end, I'll present the life cycle of this program and what are the next steps. Although UiPath tools have evolved a lot with the last releases, still, there are applications where unstable selector create problems even for the experienced RPA developers. There are cases when identifying a stable selector is one of the biggest problems in an implementation. It is then understandable why taking this job from a citizen developer will empower him to focus on the business part of this task. Debugging is also a big issue. By landing in a situation when business users have to repeat over and over again the same steps in order to identify a problem in their implementation, might discourage them to continue the RPA journey. As experienced developers, when we do an implementation, we often need to use different tricks in order to automate some applications. Wait for a hidden element to show up on the navigation screen, or perform a dynamic URL navigation in order to obtain a specific page. For a business users, this might not be easy to understand, and this is why the only way to obtain a fast and stable process is to give this part of the development to an experienced developer. We know that every time we learn something new, we start with a hello world example. But if you're in an area outside of your main expertise, this might not be enough. You want to see more and more examples in order to understand how to do it by yourself. A reusable component is also a good example to learn how to do proper implementation. Last in my list is the reduction of the maintenance effort. In the department where the citizen development model was successfully implemented, we might envision having hundreds of tasks developed on the same main application. What will happen when the application will be upgraded? And imagine this scenario for business users who should update all their tasks. They've spent hours and hours implementing. They are proud of what they obtained, and now they need to change everything again. I don't need to say anything more. But if all UI interactions are maintained in a centralized place and updates can be done from the moment the new version is available in a test environment, then this part will be handled by the COE people. And more important, there will be no disruption in the business operation because everything will be ready when the new application version will be released. Beside the advantages dedicated to, let's say, less experienced developer, working with reusable components give a lot of competitive advantage for every developer. I don't want to spend too much time on this because everybody is aware. Speeding up the development and the testing phases, designing implementation modules in the best way, mitigating the technical debt, quick deployment, field tested code, eased change management process, and consistent exception handling and logging are just some of the general problems addressed by such an approach. In UiPath, we've started a pilot program to see how can we help with the increased adoption of the citizen developer program. The idea was to add an automation layer in front of the most used applications in order to offer an easier and faster way to implement small tasks using StudioX. In each application, the most common used screens have been analyzed and the element used by the business people have been selected to be included in our automation layer. The elements on the screens were grouped based on the business purpose, and for all of them, we decided to create read-write data components. For the most important active elements like buttons, action activities were designed. All these components, following special naming conventions, are then encapsulated in libraries and deployed to be available to everybody enrolled in the Citizen Developer Program. In our pilot, we had 3 phases: discover, build, and run. In the discovery phase, we try to identify the components we need to build. We've started with a process decomposition approach, where the business processes in automation pipeline are analyzed and divided in subtasks to identify common components. But after that, we've gone a little bit further, and we try to be proactive in identifying the reusable elements. For this, the team analyzed all the applications included in the scope, see if there are relevant areas that the business process might take use of. These opportunities for reusable components have been included in a pipeline and decomposed or composed together depending on the size and the business purpose in order to create a list of activities that will be implemented. During the build phase, all the selectors have been saved in object repositories. This way, we added a second layer of reusability on top of the reusable components offered to the final users, which are the citizen developers. Then, the actual workflows have been created. These workflows do not have big complexity, but they need to mimic atomic business activities. But the number of generated elements is quite large for a pilot program. 60, 43, 9, or 55 components have been created for the in-scope applications, and this is probably just the start of such program. After building the activities, we've packed them and deployed them in the orchestrator as part of the last phase. Another option we consider is to add these packages in Automation Hub as a central platform of a citizen developer program in order to be easily identifiable and included in the projects. In order to have a successful adoption of the libraries, we created a list of best practices. Business people don't have time to search through long documentation to identify components they need to use and to learn how to use them. Because of that, it is vital to follow a good naming convention. The name of the application, the addressed component, and the activity performed are part of each component's name. Parameters should follow business elements encapsulated by the components. Although sometimes optimizations can be done in this area, we decided to stay with one-on-one matching in order to leave no room for misunderstanding. Beside the official documentation available, each component has starting annotations with complete description of the activity and parameters. This way, the business people can have all the information available right there in their studio. And you'll see this in a moment in the next demo. One of the most difficult aspects for a citizen developer is the error handling. Studio and StudioX do a great job in automatically handling the exception. But in order to have a successful automation, you need not to stop at any exception or differentiate the business exception by the application exception. This might be tricky for a citizen developer, and this is why the error handling should take care of special attention when building these components in order to create reliable activities and to hide most of the details inside the implementation. And now, let's see a short demo. From a business use perspective, we will see how easy it is to use these components. I know this might be something very basic for an experienced developer, but we need to see how a business user can do this with less technical background. Let's assume we want to do a simple task to add in Rike application, a project, and a task. First, we need to do is to add the necessary libraries. Here is the Rike library and the one containing the login component. As you know, the additional cards will appear in other category. And you can see how important it was to add documentation in each component. Now let's start our process. Login, create new project, and create new task, basically following the business steps. And all we need to do is to add the parameters. I log in into Rike application. I'll use my account. And I'll ask for the password at the runtime. For the project, let's say I want to finish by mid-July. Give it a name. I will share it with specific people. Let's say I want to share it with my colleague, Andrea. The start date is beginning of July. Type internal projects. And I want to see it as a list. And for the task, similar parameters, assigning to myself. Provide the description. Select a few cards. And create a simple task. I want to finish before the project end, let's say 12th of July. And the task title. And that's it. Let's run it. I could use other type of input, but for the simplicity of this demo, I used only the static data. Now I'm logged in into Rike. We're all set. Start creating the project with all the details, the name, the type, dates, and so on. Share it with Andrea. And last, the task. And that's it. Let's see if our objects have been created. In my personal space, here are the projects and the task. This is how easy it is for a business user to build a small automation and not having to deal with all the unstable selectors of this application. And believe me, they are unstable. Now that we've seen how we've built these libraries and how are used, let's look at their lifecycle. We did an initial discovery phase. We implemented, deployed an orchestrator, and performed maintenance by updating the components based on the problems we faced. But this effort should not stop here, and this cycle should follow continuously. Based on the feedback received from users, the components should be constantly improved. Maybe we decided to use parameters for a table in application as a list of fields, and the users prefer to get that as a table in Excel. Maybe they want to have more components in order to extend their tasks or to build new automations. Or maybe an application is getting an update. All this information should be analyzed and prioritized. Based on priorities, a new build sprint can start and the components follow the same conventions should be created or updated. It will be easy then to deploy the updated libraries in Orchestrator, Automation Hub, or any other internal channel. And the user will only have to update their dependencies, and that's it. They are ready to go further. With this effort, we started to think about other steps we need to do. First, obviously, is to take constant feedback from the citizen developers in order to improve and tailor the application layer based on their needs. But we should do more than that. We need to identify also other solutions to speed up the implementation of a process. And we should probably expand this program to include not only the business people with less technical background, but also the power users, citizen developers with strong technical skills and RPA experience. For them, we should design components that might not mimic strictly the user interface, but can access the applications in an optimal way. REST API call or working with backend storage data are some examples. As I mentioned before, this is just a pilot. After enough validation inside UiPath, a complete methodology should be formulated. We have to explain how to conduct the discovery phase, how to put up in place a governance model, and how to enable client COE team to build a robust application layer. Thank you very much for watching this presentation. I hope that the next time you'll be involved in an implementation of a citizen developer program, you will try to find an approach to ease the life of the participants, because the most important factor of this program is the scale. It was from me, and now I hope you will enjoy the rest of the sessions. Goodbye.